The Never Quit Podcast, sponsored and hosted by Quotes Jungle, with your host, Quote.
Welcome to the Never Quit Podcast. In the studio with me, I have live Jennifer Schumm. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm great, thank you.
How was the drive over here?
It was great.
How's your day thus far?
Really good, just making people better every day.
Awesome. So for those who can't see you, because this is a visual and audio podcast, describe to the world yourself without them seeing you.
Blonde curly hair, 5'7", and I look like a figure competitor on a bike with a ballet background.
Awesome.
Okay.
There are no wrong answers on here, so you're fine. Let's talk about where you came from and how you're here in Colorado, a little bit about you.
I'm a native to Colorado, so I was born here, and I went to school, CU Boulder, so I lived in Boulder for 7 years, and moved down to Denver, and I've been a trainer my whole life. I had my own business when I was in college, and I ran it out of a place that I was teaching Tae Bo.
Good old Tae Bo, Billy Blanks.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about him. He's still active, isn't he? Yeah. That's
Tae
good.
Bo's still around. Yeah. Then once I graduated, I have 2 degrees, biology and kinesiology. I decided I just wanted to keep doing personal training. I really love how the body works during exercise, which is why I love studying kinesiology. And being able to teach that to other people, even more so, improving people's lives is really where my passion is. And so I've just had my business for a very long time, and I run it full-time now. I did run it just part-time when I was at Greenwood Athletic Club for 15 years, and then left there in 2017 and went back to running my own business. And I'm at a private gym in Inverness, so Centennial.
Okay.
I-25 and County Line over by kind of Park Meadows area.
Yeah. Okay.
Love it there. So I just improve people's lives every day, help them get healthy so they can enjoy as much of this life as they have.
Let's take it back. Where did you get that motivation from? Let's take it back to childhood, or what triggered to give up some of your personal time to help other people?
Oh, I mean, I did it through exercise, but it probably comes from ballet, I would say. I did ballet for 10 years, so that was my life growing up. In ballet, yes, it's a solo sport, but you're performing for an audience. You're moving the audience, so you are giving yourself to other people. So that's probably where it stems from. And then teaching high-impact aerobics, Tae Bo, personal training, I was just doing something I love and teaching it to other people and helping improve people's lives by teaching classes and teaching them weight training and teaching them nutrition. So over time, I'm just teaching them how to have a healthier life and giving, that's what I do. And so I'm giving what I do to other people.
That's awesome. Let's talk about when the love for cycling came into the equation of all this.
So I hurt my back when I was 26.
How did you do that, if I may ask?
Yeah, I was teaching Tae Bo. But it's not from, so because I did ballet from age 5 to 16, your body is developed in a ballet style body. So I had like a severe lordotic curve, right? And fast forward, I'm, not doing ballet anymore, and I'm running, and I'm teaching high-impact aerobics, and I'm teaching Tae Bo, which is all this impact. So over time, that lordotic curve and the impact just put a lot of pressure on my discs, and so I ended up with the bulging disc one day. Teaching Tae Bo, I was doing a front kick down to a lunge, a move I'd done 1,000,000 times, and there went my back. And so that pretty much ended my impact. So I couldn't run anymore, couldn't teach those classes anymore. And I started getting into figure competitions, and my very first show was the Colorado State Championship. That was my first show. Won the whole thing, and I decided, let's see where this goes. So I competed nationally for 2 years after that, and during that time, I had to do a lot of cardio, as you know how that goes. So I was living on the stair climber, the Stairmaster, those revolving steps that you keep walking up. And I was getting pretty bored doing that all the time, 7 days a week, months and months and months. And so I started taking spin classes just to get some variety. And this was at Greenwood Athletic Club where I worked. And my clients noticed that I was really good at spin classes. So a couple of my clients said, Jen, why don't you try riding a real bike outside? And I thought, that's an idea. And it was a summer. So I took my dad and went and bought a bike. Started riding outside and absolutely fell in love with that. And again, this was in the summertime, so I was training for figure competition. So I could only eat, 5 foods, 5 times a day, no carbs. And here I am, like my friend at the time took me on all these century rides in the mountains. And like every century that they do in Colorado, I just went with her and did them. But because I was not eating any carbs, I was so slow.
Okay.
She would be like waiting for me for like hours.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating anything at the aid stations. I was carrying my egg whites and my yams and my turkey and stuff with me. So that was interesting, but I loved it. And I fell in love with riding in the mountains. That's really when it started. That would have been 2007. So I decided I was going to, maybe it was 2008. I can't remember, one of those years. I decided I was going to finish the shows. I did Chicago, New York, and USA's in Vegas.
Okay.
For that summer. So I said, I'm going to finish those shows, going to finish training with them, do the best I can, and then I'm done with living in a gym. I just fell in love with riding and cycling in the mountains. So finished those shows, and then the next year, another trainer that I'd worked with noticed that I love climbing, and I'm not a climber. I don't have a skinny mountain goat body, but and he said, Jen, you're like climbing Mount Evans every weekend. Why don't you do the race? And I thought, okay. So my very first race was racing Mount Evans, and I did pretty well. And
For those who don't know, for the naysayers or people don't understand how powerful that is, can you explain what that is?
Mount
I'm not just going to let you roll over that really fast.
It's the only paved road that goes up to 14,000 feet in, I believe, the nation. Yeah. And I think you climb, I don't remember. It's like 7,000 feet maybe.
I'll look it up.
It's been a while since I've ridden Mount Evans, but it's a lot of climbing and not a lot of miles. So, and it's a pretty hard race because you're basically starting at, 8,000 feet and you're going up to 14. So 7,000 feet gain and I want to say 18 miles, 16, something like that. Anyway, and then the hardest part of the race is once you get above 12,000 feet. And once you get above 12,000 feet, you severely lose oxygen and all sorts of things happen. And you've got 2 more miles to go between 12,000 feet and 14,000 feet. And that's like the hardest part of the race.
Okay.
So I literally picked the hardest race to do as my first one.
Awesome.
But I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did pretty well, and I decided I was going to race full time the next year.
Okay.
So the next year I got a license for the season and started at Cat 4 and worked my way up to Cat 1.
Let's talk about some of that race, some of those race years. The good, the bad, and the ugly, and where you're at right now. Meaning what you loved about it,
Yeah.
what you didn't like about it, and what pulled you away and where you're at now in the style of riding that you do now.
Okay. Let's start with what I liked about it. I loved the competition. I never thought I was competitive by nature because I grew up doing ballet. It's not really as competitive as like gymnastics or sports. But I found when I was, doing like triple bypass or those rides, or I was in races, like I just naturally wanted to beat whatever woman was ahead of me, and I had a few races in the beginning of my season when I was Cat 4 that, I broke a spoke at the beginning of a race and I had to wait for like a wheel and, the group was like, way ahead. And I just time trialed it for whatever, 50, 60 miles. And I caught everybody in one, even though I was like 20 minutes or something like that behind. So I just pushing myself in ways I've never pushed myself from a mental and physical standpoint. I, learned how to teach myself resilience and how to suffer and push past all those times when you want to quit because everything hurts and they're so far ahead of you, you're never going to get there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really liked what it did for my growth as a person, as far as strength and resilience and learning how to suffer and really push past the when you want
And
to
of course,
quit.
it's a potential scammer. So rude. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I liked, I did a lot of group rides with men. A lot of times I would be the only woman out there. And I don't know, I just kind of liked being the only girl and doing these really hard group rides full of men who were way faster than me and better than me. And that was fun.
See, that's what I'm at. Where does that come from? You see, when I asked it earlier when we went to ballet, where does that come from? Have you always had that push in you? Because you said you're in ballet. Respectfully, I understand that's a very hard sport because I call it a sport because the picture that always comes into my mind is that picture with the shoe and the shoe on and off. So I know
shoe.
that's deep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And where did that come from? That competitiveness. You said I would be with men. I always want to go. I want to
Yeah.
go. Where did that come from?
Let me think about that. Probably in ballet. Just one. I was never, I never had the ballet body, right? So I was never a favorite. And
There we go.
yeah, yeah. So I had very, very hard, strict Russian teachers that would yell at you in Russian because they didn't speak English.
Okay.
And you were afraid of them because they were really mean.
Okay.
And, I always wanted to be the girl who was the favorite, that the teacher just like loved and we should all be like her. And, but I wasn't built like that and I was never the favorite, but I wanted it. So I always, strived to be better and get her attention and get a better part. And, I was always working for that next level, in ballet.
Okay.
Yeah. And most of the times I achieved it. I got the parts that I wanted. I got where I wanted. Yes. I didn't have a stick figure, which the dancers that end up going pro, they have that ballet body. And
Okay.
I always had huge quads and I hated my quads when I was doing ballet because I had huge quads and I hated it.
So crazy how the world changed. Now you need them, huh?
Now I need them. That's where they come from. But I
Exactly.
hated it back then because, again, the girl who was the skinniest was the favorite because that's the ballet body. So I would say ballet taught me how to use my mind to get my body to go where I want it to go.
Okay. That makes sense. So before I rudely cut you off, we went back to you riding with men in the three-parted question. You already talked about the like. Go ahead.
Yeah. And another thing, there aren't really any group rides that are just women. They're mostly men. I think women tend to, and this is like a stereotype, but it is kind of true. But women tend to be more social. And if they're, groups of women riding, sometimes they're just doing more talking and the men are just serious. It's like full on, like
Yeah.
there's not much socialness going on, and I really liked that. I didn't really want to like sit around and chit chat and be social and all of that. I just wanted to like, let's go, let's race this, So those are the things I really liked about racing. Just seeing how far I could go.
What about the dislikes?
Yeah. Lots of stress. Yeah. Just so much stress and anxiety, like just when it comes to like, you got to make sure you have enough sleep the days leading up to a race, all your equipment. I had time trial bikes, I had road bikes, I had race bikes, I had all this stuff, and it all has to be in pristine shape for every single race. So you're constantly, stressed out about your equipment and making sure and so I was, living at bike shops and all of that. And, weather, I would get stressed out about the weather. Like, I did these group rides that were Tuesday and Thursday nights. And if it was like super windy or it was going to rain, I was like stressed out. Like, should I go? Should I not go? What do I do? You know, Races, you're already like signed up and you've already paid for it. So you like have to go. But, these are all like B factors, like weather, other people, other competitors that you can't control. And it's stressful, and it's very anxiety provoking. So those are the things I didn't like about it, and those are the things I'm really glad I don't have to deal with anymore. I don't have to worry about the weather. I don't have to worry about all these other competitors. I don't have to worry, I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. I did it for a long time, and I'm glad I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And equipment, I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, I'm driving to a race and, like, I realize, oh my gosh, that tire's flat. Oh my, what am I gonna do? And it's a clincher, or it's not a clincher. It's a tubular.
Tubeless, yeah.
Yeah. No, back then was tubular.
Tubular. Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're screwed. If you have a flat tubular, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Super done.
So yeah, those are the things I didn't like about it, and I don't. That's probably about it. Just stress and anxiety that comes with racing.
So let's talk about the style of riding that you do now that makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I've always loved riding in the mountains. I started off doing that, and I kind of gave that up to race full time and get to Cat 1, which was my whole goal. And so when I got there, I went back to doing what I love, which is riding in the mountains. I think I like it not just because it's pretty, but because it's hard. It's hard to ride Guanella Pass both sides from Idaho Springs. It's hard, and I like the challenge of getting to the top. And then I go down the other side, and then I have another challenge of getting to the top again, and then going down. And I always try to also do my workouts, so I try to do my intervals at elevation, which is a whole nother challenge, but I'm like determined, like I wanna be able to do it. So I think the challenge of doing mountain passes back to back and on a regular basis in the summer and the fall, but also the beauty. It's so beautiful, especially in the fall. And I don't know what it is about the mountains, but maybe I was like a mountain goat, or maybe I was like a jaguar or a mountain lion in another life. But I'm very drawn to the mountains, extremely drawn to the mountains. Just makes my soul really, really happy. I would live in the mountains if I could.
Maybe you will someday.
I know.
The mountains is beautiful here in Colorado, USA.
It is. I also love just experiencing epic riding, epic scenery, epic. I do a lot of four-wheel drive roads.
Okay.
I take the mountain bike on, and I do it for the scenery, like Engineer Pass and Cinnamon Pass and Imogene Pass. I don't know if you're familiar with any.
No. What is one of your favorite places that you do that at that makes you keep going back?
I have several of them, but my favorite would be Ridgeway, so Ouray Telluride area. And I've had all these bucket lists of passes I want to do because of the scenery. They're extremely hard. You're pushing a bike for, many, 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 many hours. Barely riding it because it's super steep and loose, rocky, and all that. But it's the scenery when you get to the top, it's nothing like it. And there's the scenery on four-wheel drive roads is very different from paved roads.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I would say Ouray and Telluride is my absolute favorite place. Those mountains are mountains from Switzerland. We don't have any mountains like it. The San Juans are pink and turquoise and purple, and they're jagged, and I mean, it's just absolutely spectacular. And then you have the Red Mountains also, which I don't know if you heard of Red Mountain Pass.
No.
It goes from Ouray to Silverton and back. That's my absolute favorite pass.
Okay.
It's breathtaking. They call it Red Mountain Pass because there's 3 red mountains and they're red. But there's actually 3 rows of red mountains, and you don't know that unless you get to the top of Imogene Pass. Imogene is the tallest dirt pass. It goes up to 13.1, I believe. Yeah, it's very, very, very hard. It took me all day to go 6 miles. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's worth it.
I was crying when I got to the top because the scenery is just, there's nothing like it.
Not to pull from you, but that's what does it for me in cycling. It's so emotional when you reach certain goals.
Oh, it is.
In the push, my previous career, football and heavy impact stuff, the bike is just so challenging, and I feel so green. Like I could always learn, So, yeah. Let's talk about you and your father's relationship, if you're willing to share that.
Oh, yes. Both my parents are still here, and they're still together.
That's awesome.
I'm an only child. My mom doesn't ride a bike, but my dad does. He's ridden a bike his whole life, and he's did ride the Rockies like all while I was growing up, and he mainly rode bikes, but he also mountain biked a lot as well. So I'm sure I get that from him.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to buy a bike, he went with me, and I bought a pink Trek. It was my first bike. And
Team Trek. I'm Team Trek, though.
There we go.
I'm Team Trek.
And I know he was so excited that I wanted to ride a bike because when I was younger, it's kind of odd, but it's ironic. But when I was younger, when I was in ballet, I remember my parents renting bikes, and we rode up Maroon Bells, which is one of my, favorite rides in that area, just because it's so pretty. And I hated it. I don't even think I made it to Maroon Bells. I hated riding the bike so much because I didn't like the feeling of my legs burning. I was probably like 12.
Okay.
But I hated riding bikes just because I didn't like my legs burning. So after that, I would not get on a bike after that. And then fast forward to 31 is when I bought a bike, and my dad was just so excited because finally my daughter wants to ride a bike. This
With
is
me too.
great.
That's
Yeah. So we do a lot of trips together. He's 71, so he's getting older. He can't do as much as he used to be able to. But the 3 times I've been to Europe have been with him. Mm-hmm. So we've done some spectacular riding in Europe. Camps with my coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Shout out your coaching team.
Yeah. So Tom Danielson with Cinch.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing. I've been with him for 7 years.
Okay.
And honestly, I am the fastest, strongest I've ever been on a bike. It seems every year I just get better and better. Every year he moves my zones up, my watts get higher. It's super cool to be able to always be working towards something, improving yourself. And every year you just get better and better and better. And I really love his workouts. He's always coming up with new stuff. We never do the same workout twice. Every month is different. Every year is different. And I've been with him for 7 years, and that's hard to do, to constantly be coming up with new workouts and new ways to train and new mindsets. He does a lot with mindsets. And so it's really exciting for me. I've never been that excited about, besides ballet. About a sport before, and especially working with one coach, and it's always exciting. It's never boring, and he's very, very motivational, very inspirational. There's lots of times when he'll mention something on a post on social media, and I'm like, I need to tell myself that when I'm out there trying to do 2 minutes at 3:40 and my legs want to quit a minute in, and I got to go a minute more. And so I use a lot of the stuff that he teaches us on a daily basis, just, getting that mindset, because it's your mind telling your body to keep going and not quit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to practice every day,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Europe compared to America in cycling, the respect that cyclists get out there compared to the States.
Absolutely. Yes. So I've been to Europe 3 times, and every time I've been there, I'm like, I would love to live here. Simply for the fact that cyclists are very respected. The cars give you plenty of room. They wait to pass you at an appropriate time to pass. And you're sharing a tiny road that's like a fourth the size of the roads in the U.S. with buses and cars going both directions, and cyclists and pedestrians and motorcycles. And they still give you plenty of room. You know, I never worried about being hit by a car. I never worried about any of that when I've been riding in Europe. And I can see why, you know, all the pros live over there and train. I mean, one, they're at sea level, so that's a whole different ball game, climbing at sea level. Two, you know, the weather is obviously further down south, closer to the equator. The weather is great in the wintertime. Great, you can get all your climbing in. But also, yeah, because it's such a respected sport over there, because cycling over there is like football here.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's, you know, everyone gets hit by cars, and the cars hate you, and they want to run you off the road. And I mean, honestly, that is enough to make me want to live in Europe.
Besides, super beautiful.
Super beautiful, yes. It is. Yes.
Let's talk about how important you feel training is for women, because I did a little bit of research. I see that you're very empowering to women of all ages being strong. So I want you to cover that for people.
Do you mean strong as far as weight training?
Weight training, yes,
All
yes.
of it?
Yes, all of it. Because you have a wide age range of people who you train, and that's rare to see nowadays in people. I do that as well, so I just wanted you to talk about that.
Okay. So because I've been lifting since I was 15 and I'm 47.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. For those who didn't get it, now it'll be very clear.
Okay. I started weight training when I was 15 because I was kind of weaning myself off ballet. I got tendonitis in my hip flexors really bad, and I had to quit ballet because I couldn't recover from it. I tried, and I just couldn't. So I had to find something to do with my energy and my time. So I went to the gym, and I started doing all these classes, and then I started lifting weights, and I was spending like many hours every day at the gym, and my parents were like, "You don't know what you're doing. You're just like lifting the whole body every single day." So I'd watch other people. I'd be like, "Ooh, I should do that. Ooh, I should do that." 3 hours later, I come home. So my parents got me a trainer.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what started my weight training journey. And because I've been lifting for 2/3 of my life, a little more than that, I've just gotten really strong. But I lifted pretty heavy in my 20s and 30s while I was competing, and then outside of competing, just because back then my goal was I just wanted to be as strong as I could. I just wanted to be really strong. But I also wanted to be lean and all of that. So I've kind of carried that with me. And as far as training multiple ranges of people, I think because I worked in an athletic club for 15 years, I had people's kids, I had teenagers, I had 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 70-year-olds, all of that. I've done it for such a long time that I can just really work with any type of person. In fact, one of my clients today, his kid is out of school, right, for 2 weeks for the holidays. And then he's 10 years old, and he loves football. He's really good. His team won the state championships. He's a wide receiver. And I'm just, he brought him, and he's like, so I'm training him, the 10-year-old, and his dad at the same time. And that's not hard for me. It's like I've done that for a really long time. And I have 74-year-old clients. I have 3 of them. So I think just being able to take what I taught myself early on from age 15 on, it's been easy for me to take that and then just teach it to other people.
You've never had this issue. Maybe speak to a young girl out there, or maybe a lady who is intimidated and feels in, the facade of, you'll look like a man, it takes too long. Can you please address that?
Yes, I can. I used to get that a lot. I don't so much anymore, but I think that women are getting more into weight training, and that facade is kind of going away. It's still there, though. There are women that are afraid to lift more than 5-pound dumbbells because they think they're going to get big. And no, you can't. You have to be a man. You do. You literally do not have enough of the male hormones to get that big. And you would have to eat a lot of food and lift a lot all the time and be a man. You have to have those hormones.
Yeah.
So it's not physically possible. Now, I do think that if you are eating junk food or you're just eating processed food and you're just eating the wrong food, yes, you can put on weight, but it has nothing to do with lifting. Lifting technically makes you smaller because if you're breaking your muscle down and it's repairing, yes, it hypertrophy, it goes larger. However, when you are putting muscle mass on and you're getting stronger, your metabolism goes up. Your metabolism goes up, you burn more calories at rest. You even burn more calories during cardio or anything going about your daily activities. So ultimately, you're going to burn fat. So as you build muscle and you burn fat at the same time, because fat takes up a lot more space than muscle, you end up getting smaller. And when I coach women, I don't have them weigh themselves because the scale may not change for a bit. But what happens right away and continues happening is their clothes. Their clothes get bigger because they're getting smaller, because they're losing body fat. They're gaining muscle, and they're getting more fit, eating healthy, all of that. I do everything. I coach my clients on nutrition every single day. And then I also give them workouts to do in between our in-person sessions every week. So I really coach them from a holistic standpoint. Just everything is functioning together. You have to eat well, you have to do cardio, you have to lift weights, you have to do it all. And so I teach that. But yes, women don't need to necessarily worry about the scale when they're first starting their fitness journey. They just need to watch their clothes, and pretty soon they're going to go down clothing size 2, continue on down the road. So I have a lot of clients that currently right now that want to do shows. And, they're moms, they got 3 kids, they're 40-50% body fat, and it takes about a year, but they end up literally becoming half the size that they used to be. They go from 40% body fat to 20% body fat, and size 2 from size 18, 20. It's remarkable. It's very, very, I really enjoy being able to take women through that journey, especially after having kids and surgeries and all the stuff that, women's bodies go through with children. It's very rewarding for me to be able to give that to other women.
How important is sleep?
Extremely important.
Can you go deeper into that?
Yeah. So the only time that the body recovers and repairs is during sleep. So I don't believe that everybody needs 8 hours. I actually think people need more than that. I do. But I know I definitely need more than that, and I think a lot of athletes need more than that. 8 hours is probably just for like a normal 9 to 5 person who works out, 3 to 5 times a week kind of thing. But everyone's different. Some people can do less, some people can do more. But I track my sleep with an Oura ring, and if you track your sleep, you can see that most of your deep sleep is on the earlier side, like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. So if you're not going to bed until midnight and you're getting up at 6, you're not getting deep sleep. You're not getting 2-3 hours of deep sleep, which you need to, because deep sleep is your deepest of the sleep stages. There's 4 of them. And that's the only time that the body's actually repairing and recovering is in that deep sleep. So if, let's say, you're in bed for 8 hours, you may only get an actual 7 hours of sleep. And of the 7 hours of sleep, you may only get an hour of deep sleep. So over time, you're not recovering, you're not repairing, you're not performing optimally. So I recommend that you be in bed for 9 hours minimum, so that you can actually have 8 hours of full sleep. So hopefully you're getting 2 hours of deep sleep to be able to perform optimally every single day, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a CEO, whether you have 10 kids, whatever. That's what I recommend. So sleep is the absolute most important thing.
Okay.
And then water, and then food,
And then working out.
and then working out. Yeah.
If you could walk up to a stranger and give him or her some advice and they would take it, what would that advice be?
Find something you're passionate about and do it.
Music or no music?
Music. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
You're stuck in a room and you only get to listen to one song over and over on repeat. What song is that and why?
That's a good question. I have so many. I'm thinking of the song, but I can't remember the title. Oh, I don't remember the name of the title. I would say Nora Ampere.
Okay.
I like her,
One more time. What's her name?
Nora Ampere.
Okay.
She's EDM,
Okay.
like deep house, progressive house, melodic trance kind of thing. I'm huge on vocals, so female vocals. But she mixes a lot of other DJ songs and as well as produces her own. And I would say I like her Sherwood Forest a lot. I could probably listen to that all the time. And if I could think of the name of that other song that came into my head, I'll let you know.
It's fine.
Yeah, but I could listen to anything from Nora Ampere or Sultan and Shepherd or Lane 8 or yeah, those.
Do you have any regrets in life thus far? And if so, are you willing to share any?
Let's see. Like from an athletic standpoint or anything?
Anything. There's no wrong answer.
Okay.
The first thing usually that comes to your mind is what
Yeah.
I'm looking for,
Yeah.
because that's what people try to avoid.
Okay. Yes, I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship for a very long time. And I regret that because I spent my entire 30s and half of my 40s with this person, basically, wasting my best years. So didn't get married, didn't have kids, and I, regret that because I could have been married and had kids and been with someone else. So that's something that I try to be positive on the flip side of it and just trust that I had to go through that for whatever reason, whatever's, wherever I'm supposed to be in life in the future or whoever's supposed to come into my life in the future. I had to go through that 15 wasted years in order to, hit this next chapter. So I try to not get down about that, and I try to look at the positive and know that everything happens for a reason. I went through this for a reason. I learned what I did for a reason. And maybe I wasn't meant to be married or have kids, or maybe I wasn't meant to be married until later and never have kids. I just have to trust the process and trust that, God has a reason for everything, and just trust that.
So would you say that's one of your biggest life lessons that you've learned thus far?
Yeah.
Do you feed off of that when you catch yourself in a dark place? Because I'm talking maybe from personal experience, not from something exactly like that. Is it easier to push through harder workouts when you can use that as fuel? Are you one of those people? Or maybe you didn't even notice you do it.
I'm sure I use aspects of it because that's something that has made me a stronger person, has made me wiser. So I'm sure I do. I think any hardship you go through in life, you use that in order to, fuel, yes, getting through that time period, getting through that hardship, getting through suffering through that interval kind of thing. I'll be riding with 20-degree weather and I have to think about warm thoughts and push through being cold for, several hours on the bike just because the snow, it's cold, but there's no snow on the ground, so I'm going to go out, kind of thing. So I do think the strength that you get and the growth that you get from going through a hardship or a hard time in your life does fuel those positive times and does fuel you to get to that next level. I do think that, yes.
Music or no music?
Music.
Christmas or Halloween?
Christmas.
Bike or running?
Bike.
Sun or...
Sun.
Okay, so you're a fitness coach, correct?
Yes.
Talk about the services that you offer to people.
Like I mentioned, I do holistic coaching. So I coach my clients on their nutrition every day. They either most of them track it with an app now, and they'll send me screenshots of the app so I can see what they ate. I can see what they're eating around their workouts because, as you know from cycling, that is 100%. The cycling is the
Absolutely.
the nutrition. So so I look at what they're eating around their workouts and, of course, outside of their workouts. And I give them feedback every day. I write them back in a text. Sometimes I have to call them. It just depends. So I do coach my clients on nutrition, which that's something I don't know that I've never found another trainer that does that. Most trainers have you buy a meal plan. It says here, eat like this for 12 weeks, right? Or they tell them like basics, but they're not going to use their personal time every night to write all their clients back and look at their food. But nutrition is such a huge part of someone getting results. So if they're going to put in the work and they're going to put in the time and they're going to give me the money, I am absolutely going to do everything I can to make sure they get the best results with their time and energy and money. And nutrition is like 80% of that. So I do that, and then all my sessions are in person. I have a private gym, as I mentioned. It's called ATO Fitness.
Okay.
It stands for Against the Odds. It's a private gym.
Awesome.
We have the whole ground floor of a 5-story office building, and we have 5 different rooms. They're all very, very large, all with different equipment in them. Everything is pretty much brand new. He's really good about keeping everything new and working, and most of the stuff is Rogue. You know that brand. So, and the trainers there are like family. It's an awesome place. So that's where I do all my in-person sessions. And then I also will give my clients both strength and cardio workouts to do on the days in between our sessions. So if I'm seeing them Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I give them workouts to do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And I vary it every week. So they're not always just doing the same workout. And then they'll give me feedback on that workout, and I use that feedback to make their next week's workouts and so forth. So I really do put a lot of personal time into my clients, getting them not only the results that they want, but I'm also teaching them how to maintain them. I'm teaching them how to eat. Like, look at your day. Are you working out? No. Okay, well, that's going to require different nutrition than if you are working out. And if you are working out, are you just going for a walk for an hour? Or are you doing a hard strength training session? Those are going to require different fueling. So I teach them how to eat for what their day looks like, maybe different scenarios they're going to be in. If they're going to parties and are traveling, like they have to know how to eat for those things and know how to make healthy food choices. So I'm really about teaching my clients. I get them to their goals, but I have to teach them how to maintain it the rest of their life because it's a lifestyle that I'm teaching them. It's not a diet. It's not something you do just for 12 weeks. This is a lifestyle that you have to learn. And so that's what I do.
So I want you to look at this camera this time and spell your first and last name in the exact spelling on your website so that I can get your promo right, and then we'll end up.
It's Jennifer Schumm, JenniferSchumm, and my website is www.fitbyjenny.com, and that's FITBYJENNY.com.
This has been another episode of the Never Quit Podcast, sponsored and hosted by Coach Jungle. Peace.
The Never Quit Podcast, sponsored and hosted by Quote Jungle, with your host, Quote.